Rusty said, if you've got an ego, get the out of here.
So is that right? Carl Heyman made you pass out as a youngster?
Yeah, and actually Morris had to pick me off the pitch and said, welcome to the big league, puppy. The guy that tackled me the hardest in my whole career was Jerry Collins. Dirtiest, I would say definitely.
I didn't even say dirtiest, but okay, I'll take it. Welcome back to Hits Different. We've got a special guest all the way from South Africa, Schalk Brits, a World Cup winner, guys.
Yeah. The smartest player, look at him, the smartest person we've ever had on.
The businessman, not just a World Cup winner. I hear the oldest player to ever win a World Cup at 38 years old. Is that right, Scala?
Danny, that is correct. My claim to fame.
Man, that's incredible, though. That's incredible, mate. We're going to go straight into it, Scala. We want to know your ultimate 15, the best players you have ever played with or against, and I'm sure there is going to be some superstars. So, mate, take it away.
There's a lot of Southern Hemisphere players in here, so please give me a lot of grief. Okay, so for me, the ginger Steven Kitsoff was phenomenal. Aguero, they played loosehead for the Tigers, probably the best loosehead that I've played. Austria I started with Beast as a 100 test match, but on that I'll go for Steven Kitsoff. Okay, then the guy that, once again, I said it's heavily with a lot of Southern Hemisphere boys. So a guy that I looked up, but I didn't ever play against him or with him, is Keith Wood. He's was my idol as a rugby player. I would definitely say guys I respected a lot was Kevin Mulamu, Dan Cole, Bismarck, John Smith. But the one that takes it is Malcolm Marx. He is, although he plays with the bench a lot of the times now, he's probably the best hooker in world rugby, I would say, but I'm biased.
Is he one of the toughest players you've ever come across, Scala?
Toughest, dirtiest, I would say definitely Dylan Hartley.
Dirtiest Dylan. I didn't even say dirtiest, but okay, I'll take it.
I would say Dylan Hartley. The guy that I've got the most respect for playing against is Kevin Mulamu. He was just a hard individual. Dylan was hard on the pitch, but had a nice beer afterwards. But for me, it's Malcolm is just a gent off the pitch, but just a hard individual and big.
So Malcolm Marx, hooker.
Wow. Yeah. So who is the tight end that you would like to sit next to? Who's that person?
The guy that taught me the most was Maurice Hertzer and definitely Carlos Nieto. Although he played for Italy, Argentinian born, back in Argentina, he is, that's probably the lightest tight that I've ever played with. Look, I was small. I should have been a scrummer or back or something. But he scrummed at 108 kilograms and it was just phenomenal. But Furlong is just a beast as well. He can play around. But the one guy that made me pass out my first rugby match against the Highlanders, and I had Austria and Maurice Hertzer next to me, was Carl Heyman. He was, he wasn't too bad around the pitch, but scrumming wise, oh my goodness, he was just a rock. And then, of course, the guy that I'd like to play next to was Vincent Koch. And then you've got, I would say, if you take Frans Malherbe, he's just the same type of guy. He just likes a beer, likes to hunt, and he just doesn't. Most of the tight heads aren't fussed by the world. They just chill. They just want to relax.
Chill and scrum.
So is that right? Carl Heyman made you pass out as a youngster?
Yeah, and actually Morris had to pick me off the pitch and said, welcome to the big league, puppy. And Anton Oliver was actually the hooker.
Wow.
So for Carl Heyman, locked in.
Decent start.
That works.
Decent start. Who are your locks, mate? Who are you going to throw that ball to?
It's so hard. You take Retallick, take Ibn Itzebet, you take Ergis Neyman. Ergis is probably the most talented lock I've ever seen that can play in and out. He is a giant. He is like big. He's literally giant. But you can't not look at Eben across his career. Started as a young kid in 2012, first tour. And he's always been that physical presence on the rugby pitch. There's there's been world-class locks like Retallick. He was like one of the most skillful locks as well, like Erge. But for a team like the Springboks, we needed a guy like Evan. I know Bucky's was a brute as well, but he wanted to hurt people. I think
He did it well.
Evan is the same kind of person.
Yeah, awesome. Eben Etzebeth. Who's his partner, mate?
I'm going to go for combination. I know there's Louis de Jager, Paul O'Connell, Maro Toji, but for me, as a hooker, the guy that made it quite easy to throw the ball in was Victor Matfield. So that combination, while I was young and started my career with the Springboks, they made it very easy.
Just made a line out a well-oiled machine, did he? It just always looked brilliant the way he ran it.
Well, I think Victor was ahead of his time with the calling systems. And so I can remember when we tried with Steve, we had a lot of different combinations and options and stuff. And Victor just said, look at my eyes and you'll know what I'm going to do. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, if I go do this, then you know it's going to be back. If I just jump, throw it, and if I step forward, you know it's going to come forward. So, I mean, very simple, but he was just a phenomenal athlete as well when it comes to jumping and understanding lineup structures.
Wonderful hair as well. What I would give for those locks.
Glorious.
Back row, mate. 6, 7, 8. Who have you got?
Okay, George Smith.
Wow.
Yep.
Above Richie McCaw. I know there's Michael Hooper, that was phenomenal as well. And Richie is, and the pure reason why I don't put Richie in there, he was an absolute arse to play against. He always came in from the side and you can't get him off the ball. And he somehow got in the refs. Yeah, I don't know what he did, but he always got away with murder. But I mean, those two was just phenomenal. And I can remember George Smith playing his last seasons. Was it at Wasps?
Yeah.
And he was just still at his age, was rocking and rolling, bumping, rolling, stealing balls, and just a phenomenal guy. And his career in Australia, I think it started with what's the Brumbies or Force, I can't remember. He played for Brumbies for years. But just a phenomenal guy as well. And the reason why I put this combination is because with Schalk and George Smith together, they can easily a case or two cases and they will never stop.
Good combo.
I mean, the guy that tackled me the hardest in my whole career was Jerry Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't a harder guy. Can you remember when he had this top deck hairstyle? Like the combination of him on the pitch. I mean, these guys has been phenomenal. Like Peter Steph-Toy, World Player of the Year, absolute beast. His work rate is phenomenal. But then you go Jacques Burger, the hardest man in rugby that I've ever played with. Jerome Kane, he was phenomenal. Schalk Burger.
Yeah.
And at 8, I'm going for the brute of a human being is Dwayne Vermeulen. Just give him out the ball and he would trot and hit anything that comes in front of him.
Unbelievable. I got sent a clip, or I saw a clip the other day of the World Cup game, I think against Wales, where Vermeulen picks up against the blind, holds a 9 off, throws it out the back, and Fury Dupree scores. And Jamie George said he was the toughest player he ever played against.
He seems like a bit of a cheat code to play with. Does if you're, say it's a wet day, the ball's not going your way, you bounce to a ball, but if you want someone to make you 5 yards and throw an offload.
Yeah, he was the guy that, and not just from the ball carrying, when things get tough on the rugby pitch, normally people turn to Dwayne and say, okay, what's the plan, big boy? What do you want to do? And that specific move you spoke about, that wasn't pre-planned. That was literally, they saw the 9 go other way or the winger go other way, and they said, okay. So he said, let's pick up and go.
Skylar, that is an incredible pack. That might be the best pack we've ever heard on Hits Different so far. We're going to have to go now to where I feel you were born to play. It's in the back line. Now, give us your backs, mate.
So at 9, and we can, if you take George Gregan as a guy that I hated to watch, I played with Marshy, Faf, DuPont, Aaron Smith, but the guy that really changed and was from the Bulls to the Springboks to playing in Japan, that most people didn't say, he was just for Dupree was way ahead of his time. I mean, for a guy that wasn't big, it's just phenomenal the way he read the game and played on the advantage line. So for me, it's very hard to look past. I know DuPont is a phenomenal athlete and a phenomenal player, and you've got amazing scrum offs in the era, but Fourie was just still till this day just great.
Scala, for me, I say Fourie Dupree. For me, when they say who's the best scrum half you ever played against, Fourie Dupree is right up there for me. But what was it about him? Because I always say he was the first one I felt that could do everything.
I guess Danny, for me, running off nines. Nines has got the ability to make other people look phenomenal. And making that choice between your first, second, and third run, and now we play this pot system. But back in the day, they were running harder onto the line off nine. And if a nine can pick up and fix a couple of guys' eyes, then it makes it so much easier for us running onto the ball to pick holes. And so that I thought that was the first time I saw that. Like Marshy did it a bit, but he came out a bit wider, where Fourie would play around both sides, and he was quick and distribute quick. And then he would run and play past your back as well, but you get smashed, but it opens out on the backside. So I think from that perspective, and then from just most of the guys I've mentioned, it's just great human beings. So I mean, even like Fourie, when I can remember, he warned him and Schalk before our famous win against or loss against Japan in 2015. He said, boys, be careful. Eddie's sharp. Steve Borthwick is sharp. They're going to come with a plan. And as it happened, we lost against Japan.
Yeah, class, mate. Who's his fly half?
I mean, Johnny Wilkinson destroyed us at when we played at Cardiff in our final Saracens of his Toulon. I mean, he was just a phenomenal guy, and he hits hard. I've never, from a fly perspective, Andre Pollard is a mention. Owen Farrell, that I played most of my rugby with in the Northern Hemisphere, probably the most competitive individual I know. But for me, it's a guy that had it all as Dan Carter. You would come up with so many different plans to put him in a box or try to let him play deeper, but he just had the neck to open a game up when it's needed or close a game.
Wow. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, that as a 9-10 partnership is
you can't
something.
Argue with that.
Do you know what else, Scala? You keep saying it, and I think you embody this as well, of the idea of saying they are good people. And it's something that, like, South African rugby seems to be light years ahead of other teams at the moment on off the back of as well. Like, they're good people, but they all genuinely believe that as well, don't they? And it definitely is something that I think
100%.
You're well ahead of other teams on.
The one thing I can remember, the first meeting we had at the Springboks when we got together. Look, this was 2018. We were 7th in the world. We've had a record loss against Ireland and against New Zealand. And Rassie stood in the front. Look, I'm not going to pick the best players. I'm going to pick the right players. And then secondly, he said, if you've got an ego, get the out of here. Sorry for my language, but that is not who we are. The team comes in front of the individual. We do want you to be not mavericks, but show us your talent on the pitch, but it's showed within our structures. And so that has changed quite the perception within the team. We've got a great leader or coach that's in the front that has got empathy, and the players got empathy, understand each other. Then you play for a bigger thing than just wearing the number on your back. And so from that perspective, it is we want Mavericks, but within a structure, but never to the detriment of the team.
That's class.
That's amazing.
That's class, mate. Who are your wingers? Let's do wingers first, Scala.
Oh, the one thing I can remember is Ash Flash, but he didn't make the.
Good.
You can't put him in. We can't be having him in this team.
No,
surely not.
No,
He'd get beaten up a few times.
He'd break the culture of this team, wouldn't he?
There is actually one that I'm still contemplating, but you can help me on this. But the two guys that so far, Cheslin Colby, he can sidestep anyone in the shoebox. I mean, his power to weight ratio is amazing, but the way he plays, is just phenomenal. And then for me, once again, you've got Joe Rokocoko, you had Joe Rokocoko, Dougie, you've got Sorelli Bobo, that was phenomenal. That didn't play enough international rugby, I would say. But for me, equaling amount of tries he scored like John Aloma's Brian Banner. For me as a kid growing up, those two combinations, and they're totally different, like different eras. They played JP Peterson with Brian Banner, but now, I mean, we never pick small players as the Springboks. And now we've got Orange and you've got Cheslin, and they can jump high, they can manhandle other people as well at that size. And so it feels like it's a dangerous combination.
Nice. Do you know when, Scully, do you know when you just said Sorelli Bobo? I can't ever hear that name without thinking about Brendan Venter's fantastic interview.
Yeah.
That's all. Anybody says it.
I actually went and watched it because I was going through the list trying to remember everyone I played against. And he played for Racing. And I can remember before the game, it was like, okay, this has got a team with unbelievable rugby players. And I just thought I'll just click on YouTube again. And so for all the viewers, go and watch Brendan Venter's interview on 3 cheers for Bobo.
Yeah. Very good. 3 cheers for Sorelli Bobo. Very good, very good.
We'll put it in here. We'll put the link in.
We will.
Amazing.
That's class. Right, centres, mate.
Oh, John de Villiers, Maunonu, Damien Dallender, Sonny Bill Williams. But the one guy that can take it, like my first game against the Springboks was in 07. Gito was having, from the Sunday night to literally to the Friday night, phoning me at 11 o'clock at night and saying, let's go on the piss. I said, look, boy, mate, we're playing against the Springboks. I want to get on the side. He says, I won't take a no for an answer. And I thought, we're going to get smashed by the Springboks after they've won the World Cup. And still he went out there at 12 and just performed. So for me, controversial, I'm not going for South African, although I think there's phenomenal 12s. Matt Gitso, they can play 10 and 12. He was just, I like players that make other players look good. Like Maunonu by himself, he can run a line, he can step both feet. It's just phenomenal. But Matt Gitso, I like this player, another 10 or 12.
Popular choice. He's a big fan of the show, big friend of the show.
We like that a lot on this show, yeah.
Yeah, we like that, mate. Who's his 13?
Then again, mentions Schalk, Curry, Jonathan Davies, Conrad Smith. I mean, Conrad Smith looked like one of those players that shouldn't be amazing at outside centre. He didn't feel that quick. He didn't have felt like he had a massive step. But for me, Brian O'Driscoll, for Ireland and for Leinster, he was just phenomenal.
I like this team, mate.
It's good balance to it, isn't it? You've thought about the culture, the off-field,
he's thought about
the power.
everything. He's taken his time. You can see he's a businessman now. He's really thought about this. Who is the rock at the back then, mate?
The one guy that I haven't had a proper piss up with, and this whole crew, is probably Dan Carter.
Okay, I think apparently he goes well.
I think he drinks with the best of them, doesn't he? I think
he goes well.
Yeah.
Actually, I did, but the story I can't think. Now that I'm thinking about this, we had a Stormers with Crusaders when they tried to get them all, not just travel in and out, but we had an amazing night in Christchurch, way back at the church, and anyway, it's probably not for the viewers to know the story, but that is. And so, here's my thing. So, on 15, like a guy, Christian Cullen, but I didn't play with him, so I can't call him. But Francis Tame, then I've got Jason Robertson, Lee Penny, he's just good. Montgomery, I don't actually know. Like the guy that when I came out, his final game and my first game for the Barbarians was Jason Robertson, and he's sort of a guy that just had. Maybe not perfect All Black coming from league and understanding everything, but just from talent and great on the piss as well. I must say, yeah, at that stage he didn't drink, but now I had a couple with him, and it's just I can still remember him scoring. Was it in the World Cup final, and with the Lions as well? He's just a phenomenal talent.
Scarlett, we could sit here and talk to you for hours about this because there are some unbelievable players here. I'm just going to run it down from 1 to 15. Kitsoff, Malcolm Marks, Carl Heyman, Eben Etzebeth, Victor Matfield, Schalk Berger, Dwayne Vermeulen, George Smith is your forward pack. Fury Dupree, Dan Carter, Cheslin Colby, Matt Gitto, Brian O'Driscoll, Brian Abana, and Jason Robinson. That is Schalk Brits' ultimate 15.
Do you know what I think could be worth asking? Who was going to coach this team? Because
Good.
Scala, you have played for some brilliant coaches as well and some leaders. Who is going to take this team to war?
I'll go with Rassi because he's good on the. If I can pick up Barbarians, and this is sort of a Barbarian squad, people that can play. The only guy that I'm unsure about that I will swap out if it's a Barbarian game is probably Carl Heyman, and I'll probably put Furlong in there because I mean that is the best week of rugby that you can ever pick.
Yes, sir, it is.
And if it's for the Barbarians, I'll probably put Frans Steyn in there because he's he is good for a night out.
It's an unbelievable team. Give it up for Schalk Brits.